So there really is an issue about oligopoly. In this video, we'll define it, differentiate it with other market structures, present pricing and output determination, economic and social implications, regulations and policies around it, and real-world examples. First, let's define it. Oligopoly is a market structure where there are small numbers of large firms operating in that market. There's like 4 to 6 big firms that control the majority of the market share. Approximately 50% of the market are with the top 4 firms. Let's discuss the characteristics of oligopoly. Those very firms I mentioned produce highly differentiated products, and it is their way of competing with each other. Just like Apple and Samsung dominate the smartphone market. While they both create smartphones, they are different in designs, features, and operating systems. It is very difficult for new firms to enter and exit the market. One, because of economies of scales, which are the benefits these firms have in terms of cost per unit. It also includes sunk costs, which are costs that can't be recovered when you leave the market. This makes the cost of failure really high. They can also protect their dominance legally, using things like patents hindering new rivals to compete. Their products are quite hard to create, resulting in difficulty for customers to make immediate comparison. Since they are difficult to make at a low cost, emerging firms also have difficulties in keeping up with them. Since they are price makers, they really don't compete with each other through pricing, but rather advertising, features, and customer service. With everything that I've mentioned, there is so much interdependence going on with these firms. This means that if one firm changes their behavior and does something different, it will have an impact on other firms, creating this that kink demand curve. The curve tells us that demand is price inelastic, meaning change in price but little to no change in quantity demanded in response to a price drop due to competitors following suit in order to not lose market share. It also says that demand is price elastic. Change in price and also change in quantity demanded is in response to price rise. As they increase their price, competitors can gain market share by retaining their current prices. This model suggests that there is likely to be price rigidity, meaning prices are not going to change frequently. And that is how oligopolistic market structure differs from other market structure. To further differentiate oligopoly with other market structures, let me put their graph side by side. They generally differ in the product efficiency. The efficiencies I'll be mentioning will later on be discussed further. There's a difference. One would be there's a difference between short-run and long-run equilibrium in monopolistic competition and perfect competition. Whereas oligopolistic structures, same with monopoly, have very high barriers to entry, which means that their supernormal profits can't be used to penetrate the oligopolistic market. In perfect competition, marginal cost, average revenue are all converging together at the same point. However, in oligopoly, marginal cost is lower than price, deeming it allocative inefficient.
There are several ways firms in an oligopoly determine pricing and output, along with common strategic behaviors. We begin with a simple model of duopoly, first introduced by the French economist Augustin Carnot in 1838. Suppose the firms produce a homogeneous good and know the market demand curve. Each firm must decide how much to produce, and the two firms make their decisions at the same time. When making its production decision, each firm takes its competitor into account. It knows that its competitor is also deciding how much to produce, and the market price will depend on the total output of both firms. To calculate its demand function, it is typically written as PQ is equals to A minus BQ, where PQ is the market price as a function of total output, A is the maximum price that can be changed if no output is produced, P is a parameter that shows how much the price drops as total output increases. And Q is equals to Q1 plus Q2 up until Qn. It is the total quantity produced by all firms in the market. The second oligopoly model, in which one firm sets its output before other firms do, is called Stackelberg model. It helps analyze competition between firms where the leader makes the decision while others follow. The leader has better access to technology, production, methods, cost, and a larger market. In certain sectors, like telecom, automobiles, and the like, there is always one dominant firm where this model is used. The leader gains a first-mover advantage and can capture a larger share of the market by anticipating the followers' responses. To calculate its demand function, it is typically written PQ is equals to A minus BQ, where PQ is the market price as a function of total output, A is the maximum price when no output is produced, B is the slope of demand curve, and Q is equals to QL, where QL is the leader's output, plus QF, where QF is the follower's output. It is the total output produced by the leader and follower. The third oligopoly model is called the Bertrand model. This is an oligopoly model in which firms produce a homogeneous good, in which firm treats the price of its competitors as fixed, and all firms decide simultaneously what price to change. The assumption here is that consumers will purchase from the firm offering the lowest price. In a pure Bertrand competition with homogeneous products, firms may undercut each other's prices until they reach the level of marginal cost, leading to zero economic profit in the long run. And the profit is given by pi sub I is equals to P sub I minus C multiplied by Q sub I, where pi sub I is the profit of firm, P sub I is the price set by firm, C is the firm's marginal cost of production, Q sub I is the quantity sold by firm I, which depends on the price that both firms set.
Oligopolies affect various aspects of the economy and society, from pricing and innovation to political influence and consumer choice. Consumer welfare. Since there are only a few players in an oligopoly market structure, the players have more control in the pricing of their goods as compared to a more competitive market. As mentioned previously, there is a non-price competition in this market as there are only a few of them, which means that the prices of the goods will be more or less the same. This can be an advantage to consumers as they can plan ahead and budget their money accordingly, stabilizing their expenditure. The kink demand curve of oligopoly describes this situation. According to the kink demand curve, when one firm in an oligopoly cuts its prices, competitors are likely to follow suit quickly. However, this pricing power of firms in the oligopoly market can also lead to higher prices of their products. There are only a few players, and thus they can build easier agreements with each other regarding price and manipulate consumer decision-making. The players can act in a cartel-like behavior and therefore can act as a monopoly where there is one entity that sets the price. This is called collusion, where oligopolists have coordinated with each other to maximize their joint profits. This affects the consumers negatively as they would have few choices and wouldn't be able to bargain for a lower price. Market efficiency refers to how well resources are allocated in a market to produce the right amount of goods and services at the lowest possible cost to meet consumer demand. When the right products are being produced in the right quantities at the right price, there is allocative efficiency in the market. From the kink curve, it can be seen that the supernormal price P is above the marginal cost MC, which means that allocative efficiency is not achieved in oligopoly. Therefore, consumers pay more than what it costs to produce the product. Oligopoly market then fails to produce the optimal quantity of goods, leading to underproduction relative to what would happen in a more competitive market. The other type of market efficiency is the productive efficiency. This is where the production of goods is done at the lowest possible cost using the best available technology and resources. This may be because there is price rigidity, there is no significant competition when it comes to price, as described by the kink curve. Therefore, productive efficiency is not achieved in oligopoly, which often results in higher prices for consumers and less cost-effective production for the economy as a whole. In oligopolistic markets, innovation can have positive and negative impact. There is price rigidity in the market. Thus, the players would have to seek different ways to differentiate themselves against their competitors. For example, the leading brands for smartphones is Apple and Samsung, and they compete not by their price ranges, but by the features that their phone products have. On the other hand, the lack of competition in this market can also lead to innovation stagnation. So innovation stagnation means that there is little to no progress in developing new ideas, technologies, or products. Since there are only a few players in the market, the incentive to continuously innovate may diminish. Barriers to entry are high and the market is shared by a few large players. Thus, players may feel less pressure to innovate because they face less risk being overtaken by new entrants.
As discussed by my colleagues, oligopolistic markets are prone to abuses. Thus, there is a need for regulations. Antitrust laws play a crucial role in regulating oligopolistic markets where a few firms dominate and have significant market power. Here's how antitrust laws affect the said market. First, prevent collusion. Antitrust laws prohibit firms in an oligopoly from colluding to fix prices, limit production, or divide markets. This ensures that firms compete fairly and do not engage in practices that harm consumers by artificially inflating prices. Second, promote competition. By preventing mergers and acquisitions that would significantly reduce competition, antitrust laws help maintain a competitive market structure. This is important in oligopolistic markets where the risk of reduced competition is high due to the small number of firms. Third, regulate monopolistic practices. Antitrust laws prevent dominant firms in an oligopoly from engaging in monopolistic practices, such as predatory pricing or exclusive agreements, which could drive competitors out of the market and harm consumer welfare. Encourage innovation. By fostering a competitive environment, antitrust laws encourage firms to innovate and improve their products and services. This benefits consumers through better quality and more choices. Last but not the least, ensure fair practices. Antitrust regulations ensure that firms in an oligopoly do not abuse their market power to engage in unfair practices, such as tying or bundling products in a way that restricts competition. In the country, we have the Philippine Competition Act of 2015, the primary law that addresses anti-competitive practices. It is being implemented by Philippine Competition Commission and co-monitored by the Department of Trade and Industry. The following are some of the interventions by the government when it comes to oligopoly. On the telecommunications sector, the PCC approved the entry of a third major player, the D2 Telecom Unity, to break the duopoly of PLDT and Globe Telecom. This intervention aimed to improve service quality and reduces price for consumers. On the transport sector, the PCC investigated the Grab-Uber merger to ensure that it did not lead to a monopoly in the ride-hailing market. On the manufacturing sector, the PCC conducts studies and guidelines to promote competition in various sectors, including manufacturing. On the electricity market, The Electric Power Industry Reform Act of 2001 aims to promote competition in the electricity market by privatizing state-owned power assets and introducing retail competition and open access. These interventions are crucial for maintaining a competitive market environment which benefits consumers through better services, lower prices, and more choices.
We have the following industries in a world setting. Under telecommunications, major players like Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile dominate the US market. Number 2. For automobiles, global giants such as Toyota, Ford, and General Motors lead the industry. Number 3. In oil industry, firms like ExxonMobil, BP, and Shell control the market. For airlines, we have American Airlines, Delta, United, and Southwest dominate the US domestic air travel. And for technology or operating systems, we have Microsoft, Windows, and Apple or Mac OS that control much of the PC operating system. These companies create significant barriers to entry through network effects and brand loyalty, making it difficult for new competitors to gain traction. While in the Philippines, there are several industries dominated by a few large players reflecting oligopoly dynamics. Some real-time examples include: first, we have telecommunications, which was discussed earlier, an industry which is largely controlled by two major players, PLDT and Globe Telecom. Although new competitors like Dito have entered the market, PLDT and Globe maintains a significant market shares, affecting pricing and service quality across the country. We have electricity. Manila Electric Company or Meralco, Aboitiz Power Corporation, and San Miguel Energy Corporation are the key players, where Meralco holds a dominant position in the energy distribution sector. This is due to its oligopolistic structure, where a firm controls both generation and distribution of power, reducing competition. Third, we also have transportation or ride-hailing apps like Grab, which dominates the ride-hailing market in the Philippines after its acquisition of Uber's Southeast Asian operations. Although other transport network companies have been accredited like Angkas, Grab still holds a substantial market share. Fourth, for retail petroleum industry, we have Petron Corporation, Shell Philippines, Chevron, or Caltex. These three firms control the majority of the oil supply and retail fuel distribution prices, but local market concentration among the few firms often means limited competitive pressure to reduce prices for consumers. Fifth is the beer industry. One major player is San Miguel Brewery, one of which our classmate here is an employee, and another player which is Asia Brewery, a focus on non-price competition on which outcome is relatively stable market with limited competition, higher prices, and a focus on brand loyalty and marketing. Six, we have for the airline industry. Key players like Philippine Airlines or PAL, Cebu Pacific, AirAsia dominate in the market. While competition still exists, pricing tends to be similar across the airlines, and the introduction of new routes or innovations like budget fares tend to follow one of the dominant players' lead. We have first the cement industry. Key players like Holcim Philippines, Cemex Holdings Philippines, Republic Cement. These three companies control a large portion of the cement market, setting prices and production levels. Prices are relatively stable but may be higher in more competitive industries. Any shift in supply, such as during infrastructure booms, can lead to increased prices as a few firms dominate the supply. In conclusion, while oligopolies lead to efficiency and stability due to presence of large, well-resourced firms, they also tend to often result in higher prices and reduced competition, as seen in the Philippine industries as described above.